going to hand deliver each one. In my spare time. I'm going to run a delivery service. Should have a little signing party would be a good idea. Well, we could do that when we're doing demolition. They could come in and they could break something while they're here. It's like a fundraiser where they used to smash the cars with the sledgehammer. You could smash a wall with a sledgehammer. I think, since Carmen walked in, it must be, since Carmen is here, that must mean that it's time to get started. So I don't know, are you looking for soccer coaches or what? He was upstairs. Mr. Schmidt, are you upstairs? Mr. Schmidt, are you upstairs? Can you hear this? They need you in the IMC. Is that where you are? If you can come to the IMC, Mr. Schmidt, if you hear this. All right. We're going to get started since he did poke his head up. See, look at that. Who knew I had such power? We all know that's not true. Well, I want to welcome you guys. Thank you for coming out tonight. It seems like there's a lot of information out there and some people are confused a little bit. So we decided we would have this town hall meeting so that you could kind of ask questions and we could get some information out. If some people want to know, then they can come to you and get some of those answers for that. So if you would, please join me in prayer and then we'll get started. Dear Lord and Master of all, you are the ultimate creator, and you have created the earth and all that is in it. We thank you for your wisdom in providing a plan of salvation for us since we have fallen. You have blessed us with opportunities to hear and learn about you. We ask that you bless our meeting tonight, that we could discuss openly the plans for Sheboygan Lutheran High School and hopefully honor your name through what takes place here in preparing Christian leaders. So again, we ask you to bless our time, O Lord. We ask this in your Son's name, amen. Not to be just up here, I'm just going to make sure I talk. I don't know if Eric is live streaming this or not. So we're just going to kind of go through. On one side, kind of get the video of some of the walkthrough things that are going. And what I want to do is give you facts so that when people ask you some questions that you know what's going on. Or if you have questions yourself. Someone in this room that will remain nameless came up and asked me once if I had heard this rumor. And so I said, oh, what was the rumor? And then they proceeded to tell me, and I said, well, no, that's not true. Here are the facts. And so we want to do that. We want to build on a firm foundation. And everything that we do at Sheboygan Lutheran High School should be built on the Scriptures. And if it's not, we're in trouble. We believe that the Lord will bless our efforts because we are trying to honor Him in preparing that next generation of Christian leaders. And Matthew 7:24, everyone who hears these words of mine and does them will be like a wise man who built his house on the rock. Okay, well, let's talk a little bit, how did we get here? So in 78, when the school started, this building wasn't here. In 78, and when they did all that planning, they had to go other places, Ebenezer, Sheboygan Falls, but in 1980, they came here. I think, Roger, you were probably on that building committee. And worked on that. And this used to be farmland, the Hopperts. Live up on the hill, still on Indiana there. If you start going up the hill, you turn right, and you go up there. They're still living up there. And we're working with them today still to make sure that everything is good. 2 additions later. So there were only 2 hallways when we first started. 2 hallways, just a nice little right angle, someday to become a square. And we had 2 additions, put on the first one, going down the south or the east side of campus. And then the gym expansion, if you see that big erector set up there, that used to be the edge of the gym and the edge of the school. And then they added on there and added the whole south wing. And so in 1999, there were actually renderings for a worship fine arts center. In 1999, actual drawings of a picture, and it was out this corner. It was going to be where the parking lot kind of is. It would go forward off that south side of that parking lot that's out there in this corner of the building, and the back of it would have been pointing towards Taylor Drive. And back then, there was only the triangle turnaround in the front of school. And so there was that vision, and it was a very interesting thing. In 2012, they said, nope, let's not build on that side, let's build on this side. And part of that was to get the facing of people that were driving by on Taylor, that they would see the front of the building. And they would notice it a little bit more. And we had an initial footprint. And we also noticed that if you go out this south side, there's a lot of fill we would have had to bring in. There's a kind of a big hill and a dip over there. This side was more level and flat. And it was decided that in 2012, we're going to get renderings and we're going to show it on this side of the building, on the northwest side, and we were going to go forward. So those initial are pretty much the same footprint. And as you drove up today or tonight, I don't know if you saw all the orange squiggly lines. That's actually the outline of the building. We're getting ready for the groundbreaking on Sunday. And so there's a art mural that's going to take place. Mrs. Shank is working on that. I think she's actually out there right now doing some painting. So nobody's graffitiing our parking lot or doing anything, so we don't have to call the police there. But we have that. That's the footprint. In 2014, some guy they hired off the street came in, and they said their intent, our number one vision, was to go forward, and we want to build this Worship Fine Arts Center. Even with that being said, it's taken us a number of years to get to this point. So there's a lot of hard work and planning by a lot of people, all the way from 1999, all the way to today. And I'm very grateful for all of those people who have done so much work in getting us ready to finally get going. Our current building committee is doing a majority of that work. And they are up here. Tom Rush is kind of the chairman of that, and he's running it. He's our facilities manager. He understands a lot of the things that have been done in the past, and so he's kind of leading that charge. Jim Rush, who retired early, made his big money, and he comes out here and volunteers quite a bit, and he is also helping on that. John Dolson. You always got to have a politician in there, and I think it's another way that Carmen keeps an eye on that. Tom Splitgerber, who's our our business manager. Obviously, anytime we're doing a building, it's a lot of money changing hands. Need to have financial stuff there. Mr. Thiel and Mr. Schmidt, we're very grateful to our staff. We want to get staff input. They're the people that are going to be using this and enjoying it, and actually, the gifts of Mr. Thiel, we all know how gifted he is. That's one of the reasons we have such a good music program, and one of the reasons we need this there. And then Aaron Anger is our board representative. He's an alumnus as well, and that makes up our building committee. Our architect is hired in town here, Abacus. Our general construction manager is Catalyst Construction. They do not self-perform, so we put bids out to other companies to do the actual building. They're just a construction management group, so they do not self-perform. And one of their specialties is working with churches and schools to make sure that hopefully we get the best bang for our buck. And they work with a lot of them. They've done some theaters recently. One of them was Kettle Moraine Lutheran, and they also did one at Luther High School in Onalaska. It's a big Wells school that they just did a theater in there. So here are the big dates that we're kind of going with. June 2nd is groundbreaking celebration this Sunday, 3 o'clock. We want to make sure we get as many people there and get a number of videos, and we'll talk a little bit about what's going on there. On June 3rd, we're already set to do demo in the science rooms. We have things that are going to take place. We've already ordered the cabinetry. We've already got some things taken there. As soon as we can, we've had the teachers, when they have been done with certain items, they've been boxing them up, and we've been moving them to other parts of our building. And so we hope to go on June 3rd and basically take everything out of the 2 science rooms and Mr. Whitty's math cave. So the 3 rooms on that end, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Because we didn't have enough to do, we have our regular projects that are going on in our building. Every year, I don't know if you've noticed over the years, at least since I've been here, we've been very blessed to do a number of upgrades inside the building. Everything from redoing our weight room facility to upgrading things in the teacher rooms to doing some more tile up front. We plan on doing some more of that as well. We're going to continue to do upgrades every year on a regular basis to make sure that we are taking care of the building that we do have. We're not just focusing all our eggs on the future and forget about the existing footprint. So as soon as we go on June 3rd, we're also going to be starting to finish tiling all the way through this entrance right over here. That will be tiled like the front. That's where most of the traffic is with carts and things. And that's where most of the kids spill food when they come in the morning and do different things. And so we're going to get that all tiled. We're going to then do carpeting on the south and the east walls there. And we're going to wait until the science rooms are done before we finish that last west hallway with carpeting as well. So that's summer flooring projects, okay? By the end of June, those are going to be completed except for the west. So I put the north, east, south flooring completed. By August 16th, and I've asked this every time we get together, this is my biggest worry, that our science rooms need to be done by next year. We'll figure something out if they're a couple days late, but we're hoping that they can get it done by August 16th so that we can move in for that first week. It's a tight timeline. I'm not sure if I still fully believe that. I have to. I have faith. So we're going to do that. The rest of the building is kind of like a phase 2, because this we need next year. We need to have the science wing completed. We can't go without science rooms. The rest of the building addition is completed for the 2021 school year. If you can imagine saying that, the 2021 school year, that'll be in there. So that's a year from this coming August that will hopefully be in that building. And that's exciting. It's a great thing. There's a number of reasons that we want to go. So what are the facts so that people kind of say, okay, here we go. When we first started looking at this, before I even got here, it was between 5 and 6.5 million in 2012. Inflation has hit us hard, and back then people were hungry for construction. I can see Pastor Steele's look on his face. I'm getting nervous already. He's already in terror. Don't worry, we're going to work on it. Have a little faith there. Right now, I would like it to be closer to 7. Right now, it's closer to 9. We're going to do some, hopefully some quality engineering. We're going to rely on some of our people who are in the trades to help us. We're going to try to get some of those costs down, but we want a quality building. We don't want to just sacrifice and put something up that's not quality. And unfortunately, we're going to have to pay up a little bit in order to get that. Does that mean everything gets done right at the beginning? No, that might not happen. Just like one of the original plans was to do some of these other rooms, and we left them shelled, and then when they were shelled, we finished them out. we're not going to shell the auditorium, but you understand what I'm saying. There might be some things that get put in there. Gifts and pledges to date is $2.6 million. That's what we have in gifts and pledges right now. Cash received, a little bit of a sore spot there, $987,000. When we get to $1 million in pledges received, we have somebody who's going to give us another $100,000 right at that point. We know those checks are coming in. There's 3 different sources where they could come in at any time, and if we get those, we're going to go visit that donor who said he's going to give us another $100,000 and different things there. It'll all come in the same time, and we'll probably be at $1.25 million like that when we get those, because we also have a gift from the Bratz Foundation, which they just held their board meeting, and we satisfied all of their qualifications. They have $150,000 first payment on their commitment as well. So again, with that 150 and that 100,000, that puts us at 1.25 million. $1 million was the high water mark for money raised in our previous campaigns. So we've already got more money that's going to be in than what we have raised in the past. Well, that's good because we got a big price tag on this thing. We need to get some money. Maximum construction loan that we can take out is $4 million. So we've got some work to do to get this to where we need it to be. There are a number of things that we need to kind of say to you that we are continuing to do, and we just met again tonight before this meeting as a campaign committee, and we have plans to get to these places. Campaign continues until April 2020. We're going to keep asking and keep working. We already have a plan to invite the 240 industries in Sheboygan County, hoping to get 10% of them, 24 of them to come to our campus. Of those 24, we're hoping to get 10 of those for a second visit, and of those, hopefully 5 gifts. If we get more, that's great. We'll take more, but we've got some ideas on that. So we're going to go all the way through next tax season. We're going to keep asking and keep asking and keep asking. We have 1,600 alumni, which we'll get to here in a minute, that we need to contact, and it's slow going. We got to update all our different databases and everything. Currently, that 2.6 million is from only 160 family gifts. I want you to think about that. That's a lot of money from 160 family gifts. And we've only scratched the surface. So that's why there is optimism for us moving forward if we get to where our goal is. Our goal is to get 650 to 700 family units gifts. They don't all have to be huge gifts. If you get 600 gifts at average out at 5,000, what would that be? We'd be able to pay for this thing. You know, and so that's what we got to do. We've got to try to think about what we can do, not what we can't do. We have 1,600 alumni over that. We have 1,000 school families that sent their kids here. We have 22 LCMS congregations in our county and places that support us and other supporters. There are a ton of people out there. They need to be asked. Every time I've asked somebody, nobody has turned me down. The problem is if I have to ask them one at a time, we're going to be here a while. So we need other people to ask as well. But we really believe that this is a doable piece. And so, again, if we can just keep the momentum going, we should be in pretty good shape. So what is it that we want you to do? Well, real simply, we need you to pray. We need your support in prayers. Never underestimate the power of prayer. That's the most important thing you can do for us. Be informed. So when people say something, you can say, no, that's not true. I was at a meeting the other night, and here are the facts. And if you don't know, you can call up and ask us. Feel free to come and talk to different people that are on that committee, that building committee. You can call myself, call Carmen. If we don't know the answer, which we don't always know the answer, we'll get you the answer. But if you're informed, you can help us along that way with getting talking about it. Speaking positively about the project. There's nothing worse than when your inside supporters say, well, I'm not sure that we're going to be able to do this. We have to believe that we're going to do this, and we do believe that. And it's been some convincing. For 20 years, we've been planning to do this. It's time. If we don't, it's going to be another $2 million or more. Every time we turn around, the cost is going to go up. You can volunteer. And now some say, well, how do I volunteer? I'm not going to be a construction person. I'm not going to do whatever. There are a number of ways to get involved. Throughout the contracting process and the building process, we're going to try to have people bring in treats for our contractors at least once a week. You could bake something and bring it in. And we talked about how that goodwill goes a long way when you have people working on your project. When you give them some baked goods, or you have some coffee, or you do something nice for them, they're going to in turn work extra hard. And if there's something that's just a little bit different, they may not do a change order or charge you for an extra piece that they have in their truck or whatever else. There's things you can do. But we need people to make phone calls. We need people to clean up at night. There's money that can be saved. We have people who are going to, instead of giving a cash donation, they can paint a couple rooms. We have professional painters that said, I can't do the whole project because that's just too big for me out of this scope. But what we can do is I can help paint, or I can help volunteer, or I can help make something. There's lots of different ways to get involved in this. They may not be able to give cash, but they may be able to give time and service. And then, obviously, if you can give. The Bible talks about it all the time. It's not the size of the gift, it's the intent in your heart. And God will bless us if we just do that. He always says, test me, see what happens. Don't underestimate the power of what God can do. God's timing is perfect. God has a plan, hopefully, for us to be successful and to continue to grow, and we think that that's really a true statement in there. I wanted to point out on this other board here the floor plan. And some people get very confused by that, and we've got the model over there made by Ryan Anger. It gives you kind of an idea of what's going on. But if you were to come and you see the office entrance, that's this entrance right up here. This is the office entrance. So Carmen's office is right there. The school office is right there. You come in through these double doors, and you walk down here to get to that corner over there, to the West Gym lobby. These rooms, this is room 108, Mr. Schmidt's room. This room is the math cave, Mr. Whitty's room, and part of Mr. Otten's room. This is part of Mr. Otten's room and Mr. Zoiner's room. This goes down that outside. This is the part that's going to be gutted and redone first. They have redesigned their rooms so the way that they want it, but not also for them, but for the next person who will be teaching here after them. They're to think about all the things that they need. And so we have that. One of the things we talked about is we want to have a greenhouse. So we have this addition here that goes from the outside exit so that they can do different things in the science rooms without walking in the halls, but also have this greenhouse here. We need an entrance to get into our new addition, and that's that first room. We're going to have an IT room as part of that. That's going to hold the servers, which are going to service this whole new addition. This part right here is the part that's marked in the parking lot going to the northwest. This is Mr. Schmidt's room. We're making the corridor a little bit wider so that it can handle all the students coming there for chapels and different things during the day. So that walkway comes in here. We moved the door because we could only have a certain percentage of the existing building there. We moved this entrance here, and we moved this door over here, which saved us space. Mr. Schmidt's robotics has grown out of 2 rooms, and they're very tight. We need to have a large, advanced technology robotics. Part of the reason we did that is we've been listening to the Sheboygan Economic Council. They said programming is the most important piece for you to do, but you need hands-on toys for the kids to play with to keep them interested. They said do not invest in big machines because in 5 years they're going to be out of date, and those robots would have to be reinvested. So they said do the programming. We call it an advanced technology room because right here we're going to have tiered computer lab. So it's going to have a bottom row. The computers are actually going to be behind the students. So when they're facing Mr. Schmidt and he's lecturing, they're going to write on the tables in front of them. When he tells them to get to work, they're going to turn around. They'll be on the computer. That way all the monitors face forward so that he can see it from the bottom. And that way they can't just shift the screen when he's not looking. He'll get to see. Not that any of our kids would ever do that. We also have a cinematography room, small room in there that we fit in, and we made the piece there. This meeting room, reception room is also what we call an exhibit room. We want to make sure that we promote the other arts, the drawing, the clay, and all the different things that are in there. When people come to events, we want to have a place that we can exhibit our students' work. And that could include English papers, it can include science projects, it can include a lot of different things, but we want to have it. So this wall right here and this wall right here are going to be windows that you can see in. And then people, when they come in for events, will walk in, look at all the cool stuff our kids are doing, and then walk out this exit here and go to the show. So that's going to be an exhibit room for kids to work. It also can double as a meeting space when we need to do that and do other things. And somebody said, well, why wouldn't you just exhibit it out here in the lobby? These are high school kids. I don't know if you're aware of that. And sometimes they try different things. And that may include kicking soccer balls and whatever else. We don't want kids' works to get destroyed, but this would be a nice way to protect it as well. We have a storage area here, which is going to hold tables. When we have luncheons or whatever else for our churches, we want to be able to house that. That was the money that we collected at the Fund a Cause at the auction this year. We're going to be buying those tables. Carmen's, we're going to do it in here too. Carmen, relax. For the auction, we're going to do that as well. No, the order has not been placed. We don't have any place to store it yet, Carmen. We'll get it. We'll get it by auction time, I promise. All right. We have 2 very large restrooms which are under the above seating. We got tiered seating on the top part and then regular seating in here, a 600-seat auditorium. The bottom will be 300 seats. That will house us for our chapels and most of our regular day-to-day specific needs. The upper part, we're going to have some coverings on it, and we'll do that as needed. We can fold that up to control the seating, but that's going to be a very neat opportunity. You may ask, well, why do we pick 600? When you get above 600, the costs start really getting large as well. But here's the number. Since I've been here, I've been counting at every Christmas concert and every concert that Matt has had because I want to know. We have been over 400 pretty much for every Christmas concert. We've been close to 500, except for this year when we went to the Weil Center, we had 800. Now you go figure, if we have a nice seat, what does that mean? That means more elderly supporters are going to come because they don't want to sit in the bleachers for 2.5 hours. Even for the excellent music that Matt has our students performing, they don't want to sit in something without a back for 2 hours. If we have that, they're going to come. It's also based on what I think is a good number that we can get to right away. That's 200 students. 200 students with 2 parents each gives us 600. And you're probably saying, well, where are we at We've been between 180 and 165 since I've been here. However, next year's freshman class, it looks like we're going to be in the 60s. We're skipping the 50s and we're going right for 60. The last time we were above 50 was in 2012. So now we've got back-to-back classes. We've got a 50 class. Now we're going to have a 60 class. We have a small class in front of that. When that class gets through, it could be very easily we'd be above 200. And that's where we need to be. And then we'll continue to hopefully grow to a certain extent there. But that's where the numbers came from. We also wanted to do a very nice area here for band and choir. In the original planning, there was a choir room and a band room separate. But we talked about that. When would we have band and choir going on at the same time? Well, not unless we were a school of 350 or 400. So we said, we'll probably, and when we get to that point, we may have to add on for you again, Mr. Thiel. But for right now, we're gonna have them all in one room, but we wanted to have the proper amount of space. We want to be able to tape it. We want to be able to do everything correctly. So we looked up the specs for the national music, whatever. We've got the height requirements. We got all the good stuff so that this will be a really, really nice music band area. Over here we have a men's and women's dressing room, and we found it kind of funny on the committee that they had said some schools are going to only one dressing room these days. Not at Lutheran High. We're going to 2 dressing rooms. So that's not a thing there, but it was interesting that that was one of the cost savings that they had projected to us. Well, they're not going to fully get unclothed. They're just going to change costumes. Doesn't matter. We're not doing that. We have a scene shop and storage. We are in talks with Theater of Young Audiences. We would like them to be a partner with us and hopefully join with us. They do not have a permanent home, and eventually we want to make sure that they be helpful and run our summer programs so that as many people from the community comes through as we can. We want this to be a community building. Churches to come in here, Right to Life rallies. We'd like to do parent nights. We have a lot of plans for this building to be used. In fact, I've talked with Matt in the future someday, him maybe being in charge of filling those with venues. And he would be still teaching music, band and choir, but would be maybe running the show over there, so to speak, in filling that venue and locking up and opening and having parent nights, information nights. CUW is interested. Lakeland is interested. I know our churches could do that. We need our parents to be better informed. We need to have more programs. There's so many things that we need to inform you of. It's growing. The need is growing, and we want to be around as much as possible. I've talked enough, but the real reason we're doing it is for the future kids as well. Unfortunately, a lot of parents are letting kids decide where they go to school now. A lot. And we want this to be the best place. And we want them to want to be here. So we've done an intentional job, and our recruitment group has done a phenomenal job of going out and reaching and talking to parents. And again, we're on the upswing, but we need to continue to do that and offer the best programs, the best building, everything that we can. So I'm going to open it up now to questions that you have. I gave you the information I thought you needed to have, but if you have questions, I want to answer those. On your sheets, the 2 sheets I gave you, one was that picture right over there, or a version of it, and the one is the master site plan. But you can see where the driveway would come in, where does the parking lot extend. That one has the softball field on it, and it has the orange little piece in our parking lot that's the addition. So there's 2 things there. There's one with the addition and our existing building, and then there's one that's the site plan that has where we're going to have our pond and where everything else is. The floor is open. Yes, Mr. Steele, Pastor Steele. Well, we're not going to turn down donations from other ones. We're working. We have a part of our campaign committee that's working on all the different places. But Rockline has trained here before. So Rockline has used our facility. When I first got here, they rented a couple rooms and they had some training things here on campus. You know, you can use the movie theater and you can use some other places, but this would be a great place to host a meeting. This would be whatever. We're open to that. Now, we're not going to have some unique church come in and start using it that way, but we do want other people to be in here. And the more we can get the public in, the more they're less scared of what we are is at Lutheran High. Oh, I did miss that. Sorry, you're right. So there is one thing that's there, and one of the things that we want to do. In here it says kitchen. It's really not a kitchen. It's a serving station right there. Every place that we went to, we toured a number of facilities, and they said if you're going to have luncheons or whatever, you need to have a place for your caterers to go and set up, or you're going to have to buy screens for them to hide where their food service stuff is. So we put it right by this entrance. The catering truck can pull up right here, go in there, and then this be a sliding window, and that can be a self-contained serving area. So we're going to have coolers and heaters in there, or warmers for the food. So that's a serving station, not an actual kitchen. We have an actual kitchen over here, but we could serve food, hors d'oeuvres. Caterers can use that. That way they don't have to have screens that hide where all their stuff is. I'm sure you've been to venues where that's true. Thank you. Sorry, I missed that. More questions of anyone? Yes, Roger. Yes, he asked. All the road work is included in that. Yes, so he asked on the one drawing that you have, which is the site plan, and it shows that orange part where the building addition is, you can see that the parking lot is extended all the way to almost the end of the baseball backstop. Yes, that's in there. And our intention now is to have a drive that comes in and a drive that goes out. I don't know if he's... Good question. Will the fire department be able to get around our building? They originally wanted us to build a road all the way around our building. We have satisfied them by making a road that will go behind our building, and there'll be a turnaround up by where the goalposts are right now. So we satisfied the fire department's conditions. They can get to all four sides. If they pull up to the front of the parking lot here, they can reach through the kitchen to the doors there, and with the turnaround in the back, they can reach the back rooms with their trucks and do what they need to do. So we've got permission from the fire. They originally wanted us to put a road all the way around, but we've satisfied their conditions by doing a turnaround in the back corner. Thank goodness we got an engineer in here thinking about our fire safety. Thanks, Roger. Yes, but we've also worked on that. That was on the original topography. He's asking on that map, there's a really thick line on the back edge of the property, which is by the hill. We are going to have, if you get to the corner, there's a pretty good sized hill back there. We are going to have to put a retaining wall there, but it's not going to go nearly as long as what's marked there. We've shown that to the architects and whatever else, And Tom has shown that it does not need to go and extend as far as it needed to be. It's kind of like one of those things. Originally, we needed a road all the way around. Originally, they said we needed retaining wall that whole side. We don't. We do need it in the corner to make sure that the fire trucks can get around. That's starting to go into that hill, but no, not that whole thing. You're sharp. Yes. Yes. His question is there's still only one access in and out of our parking lot? And according to the city, yes, that is adequate. They've approved this. The state has approved it, and the city has approved it as well. There is, if there was an emergency that they could get on, there is a little access further up the road that they could go in there. That's hopefully where our softball field is going to be someday. So that's not, they're not going to take that away, but they're not giving us an entrance there. Okay. Yeah. As of right now, no, that is not going to be part of this. Yes, Carla. Well, there shouldn't be, if you look on that picture, the corner is still the old building. We designed it so that we can do a facelift to the rest of the building, depending on how fast we pay off this one. I mean, that's the design. We have a 40-year-old building. The lifespan of a metal building is 40 to 50 years. We've been taking pretty good care of it, but we would eventually like to facelift at least the front and the side towards Taylor Drive. So yes, that's in a future plan. That's not in part of this right now. Yeah, Jeremiah. Sure. Sure. Correct. Good question. All right, so we have been very blessed in a number of different ways that things have been provided for. We do not want to get into a situation which will put us financially strapped. We have not drawn from our endowments for 3 years. We are redesignating some of our money that was coming from neat repeats to go to the building over the next couple of years. We have always budgeted short on our income, and we've been blessed the last several years to have a little bit of a surplus, and when we've had that, we've dumped it into the endowment as well. That's probably not going to happen in the future. The exact thing, Aaron, do you know what the monthly payments on the $4 million was? Is it 23? It's less. That payment. It's very close. It's not 100%. We know that we're going to have to do some efforts. We're hoping not to have the maximum $4 million when we get done. For the first 24 months, it's interest-only loan. On whatever, when we take our first draw, we've got 2 years where it's interest only, and then it's principal and interest after that 2-year period. We're hoping that we are successful in our campaign and at the most hopefully have a $2 million debt at that point. And then with the money we have in the endowment that we haven't been taken, that would satisfy that smaller loan. It doesn't fully do the $4 million, but we're hoping to only be at 2 when we're all said and done with when we start the principal interest stuff. And so that's our plan moving forward. We don't want to strap the school that way. It's a good concern. Sure. Yes. That's a $230,000 contingency, 220. He has those numbers. How much, Tom? $220,000 contingency. Yes. And so yes, it's a full construction. We've got enough people that know. Tom knows what's going on. Aaron and the guys on that committee, they're taking a look at every piece and making sure that we're not shortchanging or overlooking anything cost-wise. Yes. Sure. Right now, it's full steam ahead. Right now, it's full steam ahead. They had kind of looked at that, but we said if we don't move forward, we probably would never get enough momentum going. A lot of discussion was on that, whether we should have a certain dollar amount first or whatever. Based on the money that we have raised and we have a little bit more access to put in for the project, we believe we can get there and be complete. That may mean that there might be one thing that might be shelled, or we may have to cut back on something, but we want to have that option to pick that up and make a good quality building. All those contingencies, we have prayed and said we are moving forward as the Lord continues to bless us. I guess if there was a spot where we just ran out of money and nobody was giving anymore, yes, we'd have to stop and not, I don't know, maybe not put seats in there. We'd have to have chairs for the first couple of years. I don't know what that would be. I'm joking. I don't know. Yeah, we're going ahead as full force. Sure. Does not. That does not, that $100,000 match, but it does. No, the 987 is part of that 2.6. Okay, and actually there's two parts to that. When our first million we get 100,000, our second million in we get another 100,000, and we're hoping to get another gift out of that person before it's all said and done. We've already got some money from that foundation. We got $150,000 from that foundation already. So that's going to be up. We're hoping to get up over $500,000. Correct. We well, no, because our group has done a great job of really getting going our campaign stuff, and we're going to ask, like I said, through April of 2020. We really haven't scratched the surface. If we only have 160 givers, and like I said, everybody that I've talked to that I've personally asked has given. If I've got to do 800 asks, I'll do 800 asks, and we'll hopefully get 800 gifts. I can't guarantee that, but I really think the potential for our county and our congregations and our community to get to 400 or 500 gifts is not unrealistic. In fact, I think that's a low thing. We're trying to be conservative. We're not trying to say the best case scenario. We really are trying to be conservative. So if we can get to 500 givers, I don't know what that is, but I think we'll get another million and a half out of that. And our guys that are working with the group of industrial people or the manufacturing group, they really think that they're going to get at least $200,000 more out of that group. They feel fairly confident. Everybody's looking for workers right now. Everybody is going full tilt. Everybody wants to invest in quality people. The one great thing is we have a wonderful reputation. Lutheran High has a wonderful reputation. Every place we've gone has said, we know you have a good school. And when we talk about what kind of workers that they're looking for, they want honest, hardworking people of character. They're willing to train to get a good worker because there just aren't that many good workers out there in their mind. And so I think we have what they want, and I think they'll invest in us. I really do.
Kind of led into my next question. It was just fundraising at your portion.
Sure.
Company's done the North and South high school technology projects like this. Companies were heavily involved in funding those. Has the board or has there been a team of people that has started outreach to a lot of the manufacturers?
Yes.
And has anybody pledged anything towards
For instance, we have some breakfast things that we're going to do on the 18th and 19th of June where we are targeting 240 businesses in Sheboygan County. We're hoping, like I said, to get a certain number of those in the door, and then we wouldn't follow up after that. Mike Leipalm and myself, we went to Rockline. We're doing Plymouth Foam. We have people writing to the Gentine Foundation. We have people working on a number of foundations. We have at least 4 that we're trying to access now. So again, I think that there's a lot of fertile ground out there that we have not hit. Traditionally, we've hit the Lutheran group hard, but not enough of the whole public sector. We are working on some people at Acuity too to get around them not giving to religious organizations. And they have ways to get around that. They gave $2 million to St. Nicholas Hospital. If they want to give bad enough, they can get around those bylaws. We're working with Wally Waldhart, and we're working with some other people there that we have some good connections with. And we're hoping that those, if they don't pay off right now in the next year, will pay off in the next 5 years. Those partnerships. It's not a make or break deal here, but it's a long-term relationship that hopefully we build with all of those companies.
I honestly believe that would be, no offense to Matt, but that portion right there that is what companies are looking for.
Sure.
That can be a serious area of revenue to try and
Correct. Like we're offering naming rights to that technology, Advanced Technology Center. We're hoping that maybe American Orthodontics bites. We just got to get to the right people. Like I said, we've been working on other avenues with some other people too. So like Acuity has used our grounds for their run walk. At one time they offered to help pay to redo the surface of the road coming in. We may go and say, since you can't give to us, would you pay to get the parking lot paved? That's still money. So we're trying to work every avenue we can with every group.
last thing I had was probably the biggest rumor that I hear, which is negative, is people see this dollar amount, they see the project, and their instant concern is, what is tuition going to happen? What's going to happen with tuition afterwards?
Correct.
It's already obviously costly to send your child to Lutheran High. Well worth it, obviously, but right now, from what I hear from talking with people, that is one of the largest concerns is what is going to happen to tuition if the fundraising falls shorter than expected, and we went past the point of no return, and we have to fund this project. Is it going to be paid for the backs of families trying to send students there, and then the concern?
That is not our intent whatsoever. In fact, we have really worked hard on trying to keep the tuition low. Aaron can attest to that, being a parent himself and a tuition payer. He always brings it up at meetings, that he wants to make sure the tuition rate stays at a low thing. We are one of the lowest in the state. When you look at private schools, we are one of the lowest ones in the state. But that doesn't mean we want to raise it to get to those other levels either. We want to make it affordable for every family that's coming here. Go ahead, Aaron.
There would be other options before raising tuition if we got to that scenario.
I think if you guys can do something to spread the word about that, I know that in conversations about the project, that has been one of the main topics that I've heard come up. What is tuition going to be after this project happens? I know that nothing's a guarantee.
Correct.
I think a little,
Newsletter?
yeah.
Well,
I think
or
it would
like,
go a long ways to a lot of concerned people. I'm actually surprised there's not more people here tonight, but passing that word out there, I think.
we can do that through the communicator in the monthly newsletter. I can address that and say, what are the plans of the board? We never want to raise more than ever than 3%, and that's a big year. Some years we've only done $100 since I've been here. We've tried to keep it very minimal so that families can continue to afford to come here. Now, we're also blessed to have that endowment. If a family needs help, we've been able to reach out. We haven't turned anybody away that's wanted to work with us since I've been here. We've been blessed. And correct, and no doubt, because I want anybody that wants a Christian education in our community to get that option. That's why I got into this business, is to help families. Yes.
So, this year it's been so rainy and this is such a low level of ground. We had to plan a lot for rerouting water.
Correct. We have to do another retention pond. In the front of the property, we have a dry pond. I don't know what that means. A dry pond that if it really would be the 100-year rain, that would also house water. There is a full effect. We just got passed by the FEMA board that our building will not be in the floodplain. So we have all of those things. There are a lot of interesting hoops that I have learned that you have to jump through just to get approval to even move the ground. It's like,
There's been a significant number of hurdles to clear.
it's not as easy as just raising the money and building it. There's a lot of planning that has to go on. The city has to approve it. The state has to approve it. The Historical Society has to approve it. We may be a possible Indian burial ground. They don't know that, but they're going to have somebody out here watching us when we dig the pond. Because of, is it Tecumseh? Because of whoever in Sheboygan Falls who dumped PCBs in the river a long time ago, our soil may have some PCBs, which they're now testing to make sure it doesn't. So if we disturb that earth, we have to do it in a special, I don't know what we got to do, but we'll have to do it if it comes back high enough. I kind of laugh because our kids are out there playing in the grass right now. Are they all have PCBs all over them? I know it, but it's another hurdle. Yeah, we have to have asbestos testing for when we do the demolition. Even though this building was built after 1980 and they didn't use asbestos materials, we still have to get tested. I don't know why. It's a government federal regulation. I don't want to start talking politics because I'll alienate some people in here. These are all good questions, and keep asking. These are the important things we need to get out there. So I appreciate that, Jeremiah. We are going to address that piece, the tuition. Other rumors you've heard or want to bring up? Yes, Matt. Yes, we need to have some of those rooms come back. The first year, whoever gets to move into that room, which I think there's a lot of teachers that would like to have that big of a room, they're going to have to deal with the tiered seating at least for 1 year. But I see a group of volunteers eventually taking out the staging and then that be just a flat room. You know, that room is going to be a pretty premium room because it's got the storage areas in the back. I know if I was a teacher, I'd be vying for that. I do take gift cards and certain things if any teachers are listening online. Kidding, joking. But we are also going to, because this computer room is here, we're going to get the lab back as well. You had 2 rooms before. You're only going to have 1 room, at least to start with originally. You're going to have this room here. So your other math room is going to be available to us. We have the current robotics lab will be another room that will be available to us. So even though we lose this room and the math cave, we'll be gaining several rooms for future growth. All right. We're working on getting a finalized construction schedule. The only thing that we have that's ironed out for sure is that date, August 15th, 16th. I've asked about it at every meeting, I think. That's the only one that's absolute. They tell me that they can get done with that other part in a year. Do you think that's really true, Jeremiah? The rest of it? If things would go fairly smoothly, do you think a year is realistic? Okay, well, we've got some issues there, but they actually have 14 months because it would be, if we start in June, through next June, they would have July and August too, but they think they can do it in 12 months. I'm glad we have 14 months before we have to check that out. Nothing has gone totally smooth yet, so why would it start now? Feel free to stick around and ask more questions, whatever you want. Check out the cool Lego edition there made by Ryan Anger, current student, whatever you want. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it. And spread the good word. Thank you.